The Powerpuff Girls is a really good animated series for what it is. Action, laughs, and not flipperama. I already made a whole video on what I found good and not so good about it. So if you want a little more detail about what I think of the series at large, be sure to check that one out. Here's a little hint of a repeat. Season 1 started off good, but I don't think the show truly began to shine until Bubble Vicious later on. Taking the cutest Powerpuff and letting herself get warped into a punching machine was exciting, interesting, and relatable for younger siblings. But it also taught us that Bubbles may be the sugar, but she sure isn't the everything nice. Its sister episode, The Bare Facts, is also pretty fun. Watching the girls all give their own perspectives on a particular battle is cool enough, but the framing device just sells it. They're recounting it to the mayor, but he doesn't quite get why they're laughing. Another classic comedic episode is Just Another Manic Mojo, which follows a day in the life of Mojo Jojo. It's agonizing for him, but nothing short of hilarious for me. Then you have Mime for a Change, where a clown turns into an evil mime, hell-bent on robbing Townsville of color. Season 1 was not the most saturated of the bunch, but this made me realize how much color benefited it overall. Plus the song Love Makes the World Go Round is such a satisfying way to end the episode, and makes for a wonderful secondary anthem for the girls. Moving on to Season 2, Collect Her should hit me a little harder than it does. It's about a nerd who's so obsessed with the Powerpuff Girls that he kidnaps them. I'm not much of a collector myself though, maybe due to this episode. We get another fun minor villain and supper villain, its sister episode. They just make an ordinary father some psychotic lunatic, and it makes for one of the show's funniest episodes. Its sequel's rather slow and sloppy, but I love that first course. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this one, but I actually really like Daylight Savings. Sure, it's slow and the professor's motives are iffy, but the comedic timing at the climax gets me into a laughing fit every time. Then you've got the pseudo-Valentine's Day special, Coup de Grace, where the girls are scared of a boy who supposedly has cooties, so Mojo Jojo uses him as a weapon of intimidation. Not that the kid minds, Harry Potter is kinda gross, but I can't help but adore how cheerful he is about everything. Then you've got Best Rainy Day Adventure Ever, a popular choice for the show's best episode, and while I wouldn't go that far, it's endlessly cute and endearing to see the girls roleplay themselves. On the opposite side of things, you've got Speed Demon, easily the most intense episode of the show. The girls race into the distant future where everyone they know and love has either died or gone insane, and it's just as creepy as it sounds. But creepy in an interesting way. I can't help coming back to this nightmare fuel. Back to the fluffy stuff with Season 3's Jewel of the Isle, making fun of cartoon cereal mascots and their formulaic commercials. I'll admit, the villain isn't the most interesting, but I still get a kick out of his pain and suffering. Super Zeros is also a fun bit of satire, but about how the girls want to be like their favorite superheroes, which costs them too much time and they keep missing the action. Now, Candy is Dandy is my favorite 11-minute episode of the series. The girls getting addicted to candy like a drug is a perfect mix of sugar and spice. And the action is some of the show's most brutal. More on the brutally honest side of things, Equal Fights has a pretty heavy-handed feminist message, but I'm just glad that everything makes sense, and the villain Femme Fatale is mostly a charmless radical extremist. Even though the writer Lauren Faust doesn't look back on it fondly due to how mature it is, I guess she redeemed herself with Powerpuff, which is as good as Professor-centric episodes come. It's like Uh-Oh Dynamo but with more character. Capping off Season 3 highlights is Meet the Beatles, which if you're a Beatles fan and you haven't seen this episode, you're missing out. It's a love letter to the man in every way imaginable, with references here, there, and everywhere. Now on to Season 4, which had the last super great episodes. Him Riddle Diddle is always on the move. The girls have to solve riddles and in general race against the clock for Him's amusement, and the ending is gloriously satisfying. Then there's Get Back JoJo, the show's token time travel episode, with Mojo going back to stop the professor from even thinking up the girls in his childhood. It's filled with copious amounts of time travel BS that honestly raise the stakes in the right ways. After that, my favorite episode, Knock It Off, where the professor's old roommate, Dick Hardley, creates bootlegs of the girls and commercializes the bejesus out of them. It says so much about bootleggery and its lack of heart, while also being a culmination of the show's frightening undertones, with just how weird the clones get. After this came the transitional period with the more tedious Season 4 episodes, then the 2002 movie, which was okay. That's how I feel about a lot of the higher-end Season 5 and 6 episodes as well, they're okay. With a very notable exception of Paranoia. Him's at it again, messing with the girls in their dreams, and gosh, I'm happy the show switched to digital at the right time, because this is its nicest looking episode, big head mode notwithstanding. You could also say good things about the animation in See Me, Feel Me, Know Me, a musical special about communism. It's as weird as it sounds, and I'll just link Nintendo's video, he does a good job explaining its pros and cons. Nightmare is another fun dream episode, even though the framing device is rather lame, and Mizzen in Action's a fun pirate-themed episode. If Season 6 gave us nothing else, it gave us pirates drinking chemical X. All in all, the Powerpuff Girls has a steady stream of engaging, memorable episodes that I'll love forever. Now for the duds! Season 1's biggest blunder was, in my opinion, Paste Makes Waste, where Buttercup picks on a gross boy for eating paste and he turns into a monster. It's just a really yucky episode, and Buttercup takes way too long to apologize. Now, as much as I like Season 3, it did kick off with a pretty bad episode. You know the one, Fallen Arches. It's just Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, but way slower and way more useless. When the outro explains how things would have been better if things happened differently, you done goofed. Now, with Forced Kin, the girls facing a machine that can predict everything is a cool concept, but they go to Mojo about it. And remember when I said he works better in comedic episodes? It's just unnatural seeing him in a super serious world-ending situation like this. Hopping on over to the Savino era, Neighborhood's a slow, creepy waste of time where Bubbles is hugely out of character. Why does she steal Townsville's treasury for a TV show? Either the way, the mayor gets exaggerated much worse in Toast of the Town, where he just spends 11 minutes throwing a tantrum over wanting toast. The whole episode is just one joke, and it's not even a good one at that. Still, I think Divide and Conquer is worse. You already know I don't like the Amoeba Boys, and multiplying them doesn't change that. This one is just bare bones in terms of concept. The girls learning multiplication? That's a bore. But the absolute worst Season 5 episode is Girls Gone Mild. The first half is a sluggish commentary on the show's violence, and the second half's outright aggravating. I can't believe how long it takes these two to let the girls fight crime again. On to Season 6, where the girls fight a living fart. Wreaking Havoc is not the classiest episode out there, but it makes me cringe knowing that this was just 4 years after stuff like Speed Demon and Super Zeros. The show had made fart jokes before, but it wasn't Ren and Stimpy. However, it did drive me nuts with the city of Brownsville, where a perfectly typical latter-day episode is tainted by the villain's annoying voice. Do yourself a favor and turn the volume way down when Lugubrious comes on screen. By 2004, the show was nearly ready to Western pieces. Pretty much the Powerpuff origin story, just set in the Wild West. Bored yet? Here's a 2-minute long stare down. My least favorite episode of the whole show, however, has to be a made-up story. An evil villain with a creative name of Mask Scarer gives everyone in Townsville bad makeup, and good lord is it a test of patience. Instead of trying to stop Mask Scarer, they spend so much time rubbing their makeup off long after it's revealed to be permanent. Also, Blossom's a bit of an egotistical jackhalot for not being affected, and that's just not enjoyable to see either. So those are some of my favourite and least favourite episodes, essentially the ones where I felt I had something to say. There are others, but they didn't have as much content to just talk about and say, do I like this, do I dislike this? Anyways, if you dislike the episodes I like and vice versa, don't feel bad. I encourage you to write what you think of them in the comments. Even with all the crud I had to put up with, especially towards the end, I think the Powerpuff Girls is a fun action show that's aged well. The characters, jokes, and action sequences aren't going to go away anytime soon. They're a part of everyone who grew up watching it in the early 2000s, and of new generations looking for sugar, spice, and everything nice. So once again, my day was brightened thanks to the Powerpuff Girls! What a blast!